Holly Madison was on my podcast Characters this week, and I asked her if there was anyone in Playboy history that she would still like to meet, and her response was Christy, one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends in the 70s. My name is Laura, and this will be part of our Women of Playboy series, a biography series that I started on TikTok that I'm updating and elaborating on for YouTube. And you can also catch that episode of Characters here on my channel or wherever you stream your podcasts. Christy was one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends in the 70s, and she is kind of referred to as his Chicago girlfriend. Christy is originally from Abilene, Texas. She graduated from Cooper High, and Karen lost both of her parents by the time she was 13. It's said that around the time that she was 3, her mother passed from a complication with a kidney disorder, and around the time she was 13, Karen's father passed from a fatal hunting accident. Karen and her younger sister moved in with family and kind of lived in between homes until she graduated from high school. From there, she attended North Texas State University to pursue a degree in commercial art. Karen could only afford to attend school for about a year before she moved to Dallas and took a role as a secretary. At this job, a coworker encouraged her to go out for a bunny hunt, which is where Playboy would hire women to work at their clubs. She got the job, she moved to Chicago, and she moved into the Chicago Playboy Mansion at only 19 years old. And in Chicago, she moved into the dormitories at the Playboy Mansion, which is where other women working at the clubs, other bunnies, were also living, about 4 to a room. We do have a couple of videos on my TikTok about the Chicago Playboy Mansion. If you go there, it's on my Playboy lore playlist. It's said that her first day moving into the mansion, Karen met Hugh Hefner like pretty immediately upon moving in, and he invited her downstairs later that evening to play pool, and she came downstairs. And it's said that Karen was like very aware of his attention throughout the night. And I think here it's important to note that Karen was also very aware of Barbie Benton. I do have a video on this playlist here about Barbie Benton, but she was really Hugh Hefner's like most prominent girlfriend, I suppose, of the 70s. And she always has stayed very close to the brand. A lot of the information I'm sharing here is coming from the book Thy Neighbor's Wife, but I'm also getting some information from Karen's Centerfold interview article. So Karen did work at the Playboy Club for a short period of time in Chicago, but it's said in the book that Karen had barely finished her fittings by the time Hugh Hefner was encouraging her to quit the job at the clubs and start modeling for the magazine, effectively moving her from bunny to playmate. Karen was Miss December 1971. I'll share on the screen photos from her actual spread. It's said that this like pretty sudden change in Karen's status at the mansion really caused a stir amongst the other women, like her effectively going from bunny to Hugh Hefner's lover almost overnight. Again, Christy was very aware of the presence of Barbie Benton in Hugh Hefner's life because he was traveling back and forth every other week or so to Los Angeles to film Playboy After Dark. There's a couple stories told of Christy almost like antagonizing Barbie Benton, like she would leave all her bobby pins all over the house so Barbie knew that she had been there. There's a story told in that book, Thy Neighbor's Wife, where Christy is barefoot playing Monopoly and Hugh Hefner is like called over that his plane is ready for him to travel to Los Angeles, and she, spur of the moment, barefoot, gets in the limousine, goes to the airport with him, and someone jokes that she should just go with them. And sure enough, she gets on the plane and they continue their game of Monopoly. When she gets to Los Angeles, she is taken to a shoe store and then given a ticket to fly commercial back to Chicago. And it kind of sounds like this was a bit of a common occurrence in their relationship, that Karen would like travel with him and then fly back on her own, or maybe she would fly there to meet him and then travel back with him. And there's also stories told about these kind of like grand gestures that Karen was putting on in Chicago to welcome him back. So for example, there's a story told in that same book that she tied yellow ribbons around all of the trees around the mansion to welcome him back home in reference to a song that they both loved at the time. The point being, it seems like the most valuable thing that Karen understood herself to be able to give this man, who at this point was already very wealthy, was her time. Something else that was definitely causing some tension among the other women at the house with Karen was the lavish gifts that she was receiving from Hugh Hefner. It's said that within a month together, Hugh Hefner purchased her a diamond watch. That Christmas, December 1971, the month that she was a centerfold, she received a full-length white mink coat. For her 21st birthday, March of 1972, she received a 5-carat cocktail ring from Tiffany's. Here's a list of some other gifts it said that Karen received: an emerald ring, a silver fox jacket, a Matisse painting that really caught my attention, a Persian cat, a beautiful metallic reproduction of the Playboy cover she was on, and for Christmas 1972, Karen received a white Mark IV Lincoln. There's a story shared that during their relationship, Christy gifted Hugh Hefner a custom Monopoly set. She had all of the little pieces like made in the likeness of regulars at the mansion, and the board had references to their life at the mansion, their life in Chicago. The money had his face on it. This Monopoly set was sold at auction about a year and a half ago, the first of the most recent 2 Playboy auctions held by Julian's, and it's said, someone shared, that they tried to bid on parts of it and the Monopoly set was like totally split up at the auction. The board is said to have sold for something like $19,000. The first time I heard this story, I had to joke, like, I've never heard of someone loving Monopoly as much as I hear about Hugh Hefner loving Monopoly. The end of the relationship between Karen Christy and Hugh Hefner seems to have happened in a couple of parts. So the Playboy Mansion West was famously found by Barbie Benton. It was purchased in 1971, and it's alleged that Barbie Benton did not like the idea of Hugh Hefner seeing other women. We do know that there's some overlap also in the 70s with Sandra Theodore, who is someone else that Holly and I spoke about on our podcast episode. And I will do a video on Sandra Theodore and like put it up probably right after this. If you're not familiar with her story, I do think it's a really important one to share. We know that Karen Christy and Hugh Hefner were together through about 1974, let's say early 1974. 1975 is the year that Bobby Arnstein, the Playboy aide and a close confidant and friend of Hugh Hefner, was arrested and then later passed. Bobby Arnstein was arrested under suspicion to distribute white powder. That's another story that we can certainly revisit. But anyway, the point being, there's a lot happening at this time in Chicago within the Playboy brand. And the ultimate move from Chicago to Los Angeles for the brand really made the split between Karen Christy and Hugh Hefner permanent. There was a point, it's said, that Karen Christy kind of disappeared. She was out shopping with Playboy security, of course, and she like slipped out of a back room and wasn't found for a few days. She was later found staying with a friend. She and Hugh Hefner briefly got back together, but they were never like fully reconciled after that. And then that was kind of the end. After the breakup, there's really not a lot of information about Karen Christy available publicly. It is suspected that Karen Christy at least stayed on good terms like socially with the brand, because there are stories of women being recruited by Karen Christy for the magazine, like 1977, 1978. December of 1978, Karen Christy married a football player, Ed Simoini. He played for 7 seasons in the NFL with the Baltimore Colts and the New Orleans Saints. Ed passed in 2019, and his obituaries shared that he was survived by his wife, their 2 children, and a grandchild. However, again, there's really not a lot of publicly available information about Karen Christy's life after Playboy. Like I said, if you want to listen to my conversation with Holly, you can find it wherever you stream your podcast. You can also find it on this channel, and let me know who you'd like to do next. If you like these kinds of videos, make sure you're subscribed, and all my other social links will be down below too. Bye.